The year is 1993, and the world is about to be forever changed by the release of a single game that altered the face of first-person shooters forever. That game is Doom 1, and this is the impact of Doom. On December 10th, 1993, the first two levels of Doom 1 were released to the world for free as shareware, giving the world a glimpse into the demon-infested universe that id Software had created, while also letting the players choose some of the most violent weapons and graphics at the time. Quite simply, the game was about moving fast and shooting demons, and it couldn't be more fun to play. The Doom franchise was a pioneer not just in technology, but in societal norms surrounding video games as an entertainment medium, being caught in a time where society blamed real-life tragedies on pixels on a screen. Sound familiar? The Doom franchise has been hailed and criticized for being too violent as well as featuring satanic imagery, going so far as to battle the courts of not only public opinion but of public safety after a school shooting was conducted by Doom players with severe mental health issues. Knowing full well that Doom couldn't be morally responsible for the actions of its players, the court cases were either dropped or dismissed, but it set a precedent that to this day persists. The precedent that video games are to blame for real-world violence, despite the sheer amount of evidence that proves otherwise. Doom was the first game to provide pushback against the idea that games were to blame, and what better game series to defend than Doom? Doom being a game franchise about fighting demon hordes with nothing but quick thinking and a lot of ammo, and a kick-butt soundtrack to boot. Doom 1 was a very innovative title for the time period it was released in for a few key reasons. Firstly, being multiplayer. Doom 1 in the 90s was one of the first FPS games to feature any sort of online and local multiplayer. When the internet was still in its infancy and dial-up was the fastest method of connecting, along came a game where you could jump in using your phone line or local area network to shoot at other players. Though today, that's basically the norm for any first-person shooter to have some sort of multiplayer. It all sprang from Doom 1 and the creators of the term deathmatch. Doom 1's multiplayer built a staple into the industry that multiplayer games were not only very important to the genre of first-person shooters, but in general were also very fun to play, bringing forth many new ventures into pure player versus player games that went beyond the FPS genre. The second innovative thing that Doom 1 did was give the game to the players, and by that I mean easy modding capabilities built into the source code of the game in the form of WAD files separate from the engine, allowing for not only small moderations of the game, but in some cases allowing entirely new games to spring up using Doom 1's engine. Allowing players to create their own levels, weapons, and enemies wove the idea of user-generated content into the fabric of gaming communities and allowed for people who previously had no experience with game development the ability to play around with a game they already love. The modding of Doom 1 also allowed it to be played virtually anywhere, from Samsung fridges to calculators. The modding also created an entire generation of people in the games industry who grew up modding Doom and then moved on to bigger games in the industry as their careers were just getting started. Something that no one really thinks about when it comes to innovations that came from Doom is the ability to traverse a more in-depth battlefield. By that, I mean being able to go up and down. From deep pits to tall elevators, it was all incorporated into the level design of Doom, and it was a fresh new idea for the FPS genre. The ability to add more than a flat maze into your levels created some of the most iconic level design in gaming history. People nowadays take for granted the ability to hop around on platforms and go into deep caves in video games, but all of this verticality came from Doom 1 in the 90s. The fourth and final technical innovation that I want to talk about for the first Doom game was its attention to detail. Using technical innovations and brand new techniques in 3D rendering, the game was able to load textures and sprites in a 3D environment like no other game at the time. One such example of this was the loading of textures horizontally to trick your computer into loading multiple textures at once. The result of these technological innovations was a first-person shooter that defined the genre for years to come. With fans of the series from across the world, it's easy to see why a game that started and continues to push the envelope in game design and innovation inspires creators, game developers, and players alike. In 2016, the Doom franchise saw a reboot after many years of silence about a supposed Doom 4, with a new game titled Doom, or to the gaming community, Doom 2016, that surprised everyone with how the team at id Software had done it all again. From beautiful state-of-the-art graphics to intense and meaningful combat, the rebooted Doom franchise was on the fast track to stardom yet again, and for good reason. The game was amazing. Doom 2016 was unapologetic, and was built with the player's intelligence in mind, according to an interview conducted by NoClip with the id Software development team regarding the newly rebooted Doom franchise. With the success of Doom 2016 under their belts, id Software quickly went to work on creating a sequel that was titled Doom Eternal. When questioned with the reasoning for this new name at E3, id Software representative joked that it was because people kept calling the previous version of Doom, Doom 2016, instead of just Doom. At the same time, in March of 2020 that Doom Eternal was set to release, another seemingly polar opposite game was also set to release. The long-awaited Animal Crossing New Horizons was set to release, and people went crazy drawing fan art of the two games being in a combined universe. The Doom Slayer and Isabella from New Horizons found themselves engulfed in fan art, slaying demons and innocently fishing together. The internet had a new amazing chapter in its history. The Doom community and the Animal Crossing communities came together to create all sorts of fan creations ranging from artwork to songs. It was a beautiful thing to behold in the tragic series of events that was 2020. The Doom franchise has its roots and potential future in technical and gameplay innovation, while remaining a game about simply running fast and shooting demons with a wide variety of kick-butt weapons. From inspiring a generation of game developers to a new generation of artists, songwriters, and creators, it's safe to say that Doom will always be looked at fondly within the gaming community, for pushing the envelope in what could be done in and around a video game. And that is the impact of Doom.